Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS Fantasy NFL Picks. So used to say NASCAR. There's so much there. But we're on week two, and McKinley's back with me. We had a good week last week. Some cash plays didn't really hit, but the DPP that we had out there, one of our subs won 10K using it. I'm so excited there. Changed it up, didn't take my Jets defense, threw in the Broncos there, which was really good decision, but said that almost felt like he was going to throw up in the back of his mouth when he had so many Jets and Pittsburgh Steelers in his lineups and trusted the process. Took Austin, took the quarterback and the wide receiving pairing we had there, and it worked out very well. So, how was your first week, McKinley?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice to see the sub get the 10K hit. And yeah, that Jets uh, Steelers game was certainly the shootout that nobody expected. It was a really week one in a nutshell was the superstars. A lot of them really struggled, and then the game with the lowest over under was a shootout. It was wild, but it was fun. Good to
Yep.
have it back.
So we got 12 games this week because there's two on Monday night and one on Sunday night, and we already had Thursday night. So this is the week we try not to overreact. So look at the first game. New England looked decent in their first game out there. Miami looked absolutely terrible. So it's a really close game. It's about a point and a half spread, 43 point 5 overall. So I think Miami bounces back here, but I think New England can definitely still do some damage. You talked about him a lot during the draft season when we were doing our season-long drafts with having the upside of passing and running. Stevenson and Henderson is still there, but I think like Stevenson just wasn't cutting it, and they've already lost one game. So I think Henderson might start. He's more expensive than Stevenson. He might start to get a little bit more of the share, and he's more versatile at catching balls out of the backfield. Diggs is still getting healthy, I believe, but Butte out of nowhere had so many target shares and had a great game. And then Hunter Henry's still there and pretty solid. Miami side of the ball, like Tua, I don't think you can play him in DFS unless you're 150 max and just taking one shot. Kanye let us down, but I think he's definitely has 20-point upside against this New England Patriot defense. Hill, we liked last week in our GPP, thinking that usually does good in week one. Maybe this is the week here. Waddle was banged up. He should be back. And the tight ends, I just really don't think there's any potential there. So in this, like, and especially I think for GPP, I like May and Butte and Henry and maybe running it back with Kanye and Hill. Thoughts, McKinley?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's pretty good. I mean, it's with Butte. I mean, he didn't like if we remember, he was a stud in college. Like he was one of the top prospects coming out of college at LSU, and so he has that sort of pedigree in him, so you say. But yeah, I think he's a really interesting target. It's going to be interesting to see how they play Steph Diggs here moving forward. Still coming off of that ACL tear, he only played like half the snaps in week one, so maybe he sees a little bit more of an uptick. But I still think that Butte is probably going to be the target I'm going to lean towards, if not Hunter Henry, for New England. On the flip side of things with Miami, it, it the vibes are off. Something's off. They had a players only meeting. If you're having a players only meeting after week one, that's not good. The coach is on his way out. The players don't trust him. Hill has these off the field issues that are going on. I saw a stat earlier this week. Hill hasn't had a catch or a receiving catch over 35 yards in almost a year. My
Wow.
light just turned off right there. Oop, it's back on. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy what has happened to this offense. And I don't know. Obviously, in GPP, you want to be ahead of when it finally clicks back together again. But at this point in time, like I just don't trust anybody in Miami.
I do like the Patriots defense though too here.
Yeah.
And
Oh, exactly. Like you could go Patriots D if you really think that the rails have completely fallen off in Miami, and goodbye. Mike McDaniels on Thursday night because after this game they get Buffalo in Buffalo on Thursday night. It could be an absolute dumpster fire for them.
Uh, the whole like social media sphere saying like Gruden might come in. That'd be interesting.
No.
But anyways, on to the next game, which is actually the number one game on our board here for almost a 50-point total here. Jacksonville and the Bengals. Jacksonville let us down. Like Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people played him in cash last week, and he just didn't quite get there. ETN, they shipped off his one of his backfield
HB.
mates to the Eagles, so he's going to have a huge share here. They're waiting for Tootin to get going here, but look, Quentin Allen went to Syracuse and he was a really good player there. So he caught the ball out of the backfield and was a really strong rusher. So I think either one of them could potentially, if anything happens to ETN, so stash them if you've got some spots or like a practice squad in your season long. Thomas let us down also, but I think he'll be back. Travis Hunter was out there a little bit on defense, on offense, and had an opportunity to for some big plays. But I think it swings back to Thomas this week. And Strange is the tight end that I took in my season long, and everybody laughed at me. And I think he had a pretty solid game, and I think he's got a chance to score 7 to 10 more points here at probably less than 5% ownership. Bengals side of
Yeah.
the ball, you got Burrow out there, who's always a great play in cash games. Chase Brown was solid. Chase and Higgins, you have your two wide receivers out there, looked healthy and look good. And you got Noah Fant, who I'm okay with, but I think there's better tight ends out there. And I wouldn't play either one of these defenses, even at 150 max. Thoughts, McKinley?
Yeah, I really like the Strange call. Tight ends just do very well against Cincinnati historically. So really like that play. And like you mentioned to start the video, like week two is the week of don't overreact. I mean, Travis Etienne just went nuclear week one. If you had him in, you did very well. They ship off Tanks Bigsby, so now he has a little bit more of a role. So it's going to be interesting to see, what his ownership is going to come out to be. Brian Thomas Jr., as you said, just really struggled. He only had one catch, but I think he still had 6 or 7 targets. Lawrence just couldn't get it to him. So, saw Liam Cohen in the press conference. The Jags head coach says we really need to pump Thomas with some more targets and some more share of the offense. So it could be a nice bounce back game for him. On the Cincinnati side, I mean, it's all about volume. When we look at Chase Brown, I think Chase Brown's probably still a very nice play, just because he's going to touch the ball at least 20 times in a game. And when we're talking about DFS, we're always talking about getting guys who are going to get the ball in their hands. One thing I also want to note is like with week one, we have to remember Jacksonville and Carolina, they had a weather delay like in the middle to early second quarter, and that
True.
really could have derailed a lot of things. I mean, we saw how much it derailed that, NFL season opening game, where everything was high flying offense. And then all of a sudden you had this lightning delay and it just punt, 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 punt to end the game. And it was a train wreck. So, yeah, still a lot to see what Jacksonville is going to be this season.
Next game, Cleveland Brown and my Baltimore Ravens, who are still every 49er fan in the universe says that they would have won the game if there wasn't the power outage in that Super Bowl. So I know what you mean about delays. And so Cleveland, Flacco is out there. And again, don't overreact. I think looking at the ownership projection on Fanning, the tight end at 3-1 and having like 6 or 7 targets there, and Njoku only having like one, I just don't think that's right. I think that it's going to swing back. And Baltimore's been good against tight ends. But again, this is where do we overreact? It's not that much if you're spending 3-1 on a tight end, but I still think that Njoku is probably the better bet here. Flacco, not playing. Sampson and Ford. I think Sampson, like I see a lot of people cutting Ford in season long. I think Sampson has really established himself as the lead back there. We all thought Jerry Judy would be the wide receiver, but Tillman's out there catching like what 2 touchdown passes, I think it was. So for Cleveland, Baltimore's defense is good. I know they gave up a lot of points to Buffalo and the comeback and everything, but I think they really clamped down here. at home. Lamar Jackson, I think you can play alone or pair him with Flowers. Flowers had an absolute amazing game. You have the smattering of all the other wide receivers out there, but I just think Flowers is going to be the guy there. Mark Andrews is still there. I think his projection's a little bit high still. I know he's
Yeah.
benefiting without having Likely there, but I think it's going to be Flowers and Henry is just going to get so much uh, many carries and things there, but I feel Henry's more of a FanDuel play. Like he doesn't catch the ball or anything. And I know he gets the volume and I know he gets the yardage, but Lamar could poach a touchdown from him. They throw to like tight ends and sometimes in the red zone. It's not always power football. And I've seen Henry lead him all the way down the field and then Justice Hill get the cleanups. So that's my thoughts there. So Baltimore, like Jackson, Flowers, I would take Henry definitely on FanDuel more than DK. And if I'm running it back, I'd still go with Njoku or Judy over Tillman or Fanning, but I don't hate anybody preferring Fanning and Cash at that price point just in case. McKinley?
Yeah, one thing I also want to add in there that you didn't touch on is Quentin Judkins. He is activated. He's good to go. So he's going to be running in the backfield for Cleveland. But
Yeah.
regardless, I don't want any shares of Cleveland here. They got the lowest team total on the entire board. So limited interest in that. Fannin, I totally understand if he's, at 3.1K. What the industry or whoever is really hyping up Fannin was because he wasn't just lining up at tight end. He was getting some time in the slot a little bit as well and a little bit more out wide. So Fannin could still get a little bit of shares. I picked him up in season long just because I'm really excited and high on him as well. But I still think that, Njoku is certainly still the target and probably the end zone guy. But if Cleveland scores a touchdown, that's still debatable. And then Baltimore's Baltimore. We don't have to go too much on that.
Okay, Giants and Cowboys. Giants looked horrible. Cowboys looked better than we thought. They had a chance even to go out there and win the game against the Eagles. And a lot of people I hear calling them the Cincinnati of the NFC, where they might have this great prolific offense and zero defense like Cincinnati did last year. So starting with the Giants, Russell Wilson, game manager at this point. I really don't think that I want to play him much in DFS.
No.
Tracy, I'm gonna go back to him. I really feel that Dallas's run defense is not that good. And we saw what Philly was able to do with it. So I really think that he's going to have such low ownership. I think he's a great DV or GPP play there. I know Singletary's in the backfield and Scatterboo got some work too, but I think Tracy's going to have some success. Wide receivers, Wendell Robinson is questionable. So Slayton and Neighbors are still there. They're banged up. I know Neighbors is banged up a little bit also, and Theo Johnson at tight end. Tight end's kind of a mud puddle there too. So the only thing I really like is like I think Tracy and a GPP and maybe Neighbors to run this back. But on the Dallas side, Dak is definitely a viable cash option. Pairing him with CeeDee Lamb let me down. Lost my matchup with a couple drops there, but he should be good. Pickens is out there also. I think he's more of the deep threat, where Lamb's more the volume guy. Giants played a lot of single safety, and I think that kind of opens up for Pickens there. And I really like Ferguson. Everybody's going to be gravitating towards Fanning there at Cleveland, but Ferguson's only like $700 more, and I think that he has just as much upside in this game and a little bit more floor because you have the other tight end there. Shoemaker and Spanner Ford, if he's out there, aren't really going to be taken away from him. Thoughts, McKinley?
Yeah, regardless of how, suspect the Cowboys defense is, I just don't want any of this New York Giants offense, especially if Russell Wilson's still going to be at the helm there. And then on the Dallas side of things, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you want the upside deep ball threats, go with Pickens. And then CeeDee Lamb, if he can catch the ball this week, should do very well. And Dak looked really good in week one. Just not in terms of like the stats and everything, but seeing him move around in the pocket and then get outside the pocket and be able to, move the hips around to fire those deep balls in stride. It was impressive. It was a Dak that we did not see last year, obviously with injuries. So he's looking good, and yeah, I think Dak's stock is really rising here.
No, I missed Javante Williams. He impressed me. He had a really good game against a really tough Philly defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he can do the same here. And I think it makes sense also if you're playing him to consider the Cowboy defense. I know it's not up on the board. And again, as we always say, you're not going to see everybody up here. We have to narrow it down for a player pool. It just doesn't make sense to throw everybody up there, but there are plays that are not on the board that are good plays. And I think the Dallas defense should be one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, on to a game that we're going to go really quickly over. The Rams and the Titans. I think this will be a very low scoring game. Stafford, I don't really like playing too much at quarterback. Kyrie Williams, I think, can the volume's there. Nakua, I think, is a really good one here. He was the number three in targets last week. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Smith and Jigba then Flowers, and then Nakua was third. So and even like getting his face messed up, and you thought he was going to get a concussion, blood everywhere. They patched him up. He came back out there like a '70s football player and continued to dominate. So I think if anything from this game, I'm playing Nakua, maybe some Kyron Williams. On the other side, Pollard is very cheap. It's a volume play, like you said. You want volume. Ridley is pretty cheap also. I think he'll be popular. I see him at like 20 to 25% ownership potentially. There just Lockett's also there, but I didn't really see much of him last week. And Okonkwo, if the tight end at 3-3 is really cheap also, and maybe a punt option, but like still you have the Cleveland tight end that I believe is a little bit cheaper there by $200. So I think everybody's going to play him in the cheap range and skip over players like a Kunku. Anything from this game, McKinley? Maybe the Rams defense, I think, could be pretty solid here against a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, still facing Cam Ward. He didn't look too bad, honestly, in his first NFL start against Denver. At Denver against that really tough D. Rams defense isn't as good as Denver. It's still a very solid defense, though. But yeah, if you're looking for cheap guys in this game, it's going to be Calvin Ridley. People are just going to be flocking there. I personally really like Tony Pollard in this matchup, especially with the amount of volume that he's going to be getting. And then Puka's Nakua is Puka. We don't have to talk too much more about that. He's just incredible.
Okay, so number three game on our board here, Buffalo and the Jets. Buffalo coming off an amazing comeback win. You being a Ravens fan, it was a good game. I'll give them credit. Like they went out there and they won the game, and it wasn't like the refs or anything controversial. It was so nice to see. And the Jets, surprising last week, also going out there and Fields looking good, passing and upside, and Hall was running pretty strong. So starting on the Bill side of it, Josh Allen, really love him here against this Jets defense. Can beat you with the arm, can beat you running too. Backfield, kind of a muddle puddle. I know Cook's the lead guy, but not super excited there. I don't think I'm going to play much Keen Coleman here because you're going to have Sauce Gardner on him. But I like last year, Austin, or last week, Austin was the wide receiver two and did pretty well. So I think Shakir is the one that I'd look for if I'm pairing anybody with Allen. And the tight ends were kind of quiet, but I think Kincaid can kind of bounce back here. And the Bills defense is obviously in play. Jet side, Fields definitely. Hall, I think again, Henry just pounded the Bills' defense, rushing defense. I think Hall can do the same thing. He can catch the ball. Wilson seemed to be the favorite target there, and Taylor at tight end, I don't think is a bad option either at 2-9.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna preface all this with Bills fan here, coming from Buffalo. But yeah, Keon Coleman, I really don't have too much interest in him here. It's gonna be a tough matchup for him. Shakir is more of the safer floor play, but Josh Allen's really gonna get the bulk of all this stuff. There's no surprises there. On the Jets side. I'm terrified of Brees Hall. I think he is going to gash this defense and do very well. There was a stat that I heard on the radio here locally where they talked about running backs with over 40 carries over the past X number of years. Who has the highest yards per rush against this Bills defense? It's Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and Brees Hall. And Brees Hall sees them twice every season with the divisional matchup. So, like, he knows them well and they know him well, but they still can't stop him. Like, he gashes this defense. So, I really think that Brees Hall could be a really, really intriguing high ceiling GPP play. Cash, I think it's okay. The game script is what concerns me. I still think that Buffalo does very well here. But yeah, Brees Hall, I'm a little concerned about what he's going to be able to do to this defense here.
Yeah. Chicago and Detroit are number two game here, and I think the total's a little bit low. It's a divisional game. Chicago's offense looked good in the first half. It kind of fell away in the second half. Caleb Williams, if I'm looking at the projections here, is $600 cheaper than Goff. He's at 5.4, Goff's at 6. And Williams, I see, is like around like 18 points, and Goff is like 16 to 16.5 potentially on some projections. So I don't know how to take that. I think it's just the rushing upside of Williams that people are looking at there. The backfield and Swift's okay. Detroit has been a pass funnel, so they've been stout against the run and encourage you to pass. Wide receiver wise, if I'm playing Williams or if I'm running something back in this game, Aduze is who I really like. Loveland, the tight end, was like a lot of touts on that, but I just haven't seen it. And there's tight ends that are about $500 cheaper that I'd consider in better matchups. Goff plays much better indoors. So going back home, this could be a awakening game for him. St. Brown was real quiet in the game. They just signed Jamison Williams. I think either one of them are in play here. The backfield, Montgomery is kind of really taking a backseat. It seems like Gibbs is getting more rushing, and where it was kind of split. And the game script, if they're behind, you take Gibbs. If you thought they were going to win, it'd be Montgomery just to pound the ball and run the game out. Laporta, the tight end, still there, but almost at 5K. Like I think if he's projected 10 to 12 points, I think I can probably get that from another tight end that's cheaper if I get the right guy. So I might kind of fade that to save unless I'm doing a game stack. So if Detroit defense, I don't know if I'd play them against Chicago. They're good, but I still think they're a little bit banged up from last year and haven't got all the pieces back together yet. So game stack, Goff, Gibbs, maybe St. Brown or Williams. Run it back, what did Dune say? Thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, I think one thing to note is, well, first off, Ben Johnson back in Detroit. The return, former Detroit OC. We learned, through press conferences and coach speak, going into the season that Gibbs was going to see a little bit heavier of a workload, and that was confirmed in week one. We mentioned that in the video last week. Gibbs increased role there. Jameson Williams, deep ball threat. I personally expect this Detroit offense to really come out firing and do very well. They got shut down by Green Bay in week one, but looking at that Thursday night game, what they did to Jaden Daniels essentially for 3.5 quarters, is Green Bay like one of the best defenses in the entire league? Like, they're terrifying. It's insane what they're capable of doing. So I'm going to let Detroit, I'm just going to give them a little slide on week one. And I really think that Detroit's going to do much better here. And it would not shock me if Gibbs, is the lead runner there for a 30-point team.
Okay, next up, we have a very low total game, 40.5, the Seahawks and the Steelers at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh getting Aaron Rodgers 4 touchdown passes. It was kind of astounding, but it was against the Jets. And again, we just don't know what happens with week one. So Seattle side, Sam Darnold, maybe. I don't know. Steelers defense is still pretty good in my book, although they're kind of a run funnel, so they kind of shut down the pass and have you try to run against them. I don't know if I'd really want the running backs because kind of Walker we thought would be like the one, and then Charbonnet goes and poaches the touchdown. Najigba, a lot of target share here, even though Cooper Cup got some targets in the end zone. But Najigba, I just think is the guy that Arnold really trusts there. Tight ends, like I'm not even looking in that direction for Seattle this year. Noah Fant's not there anymore, and some of the other ones that we've seen. So AJ Barner and Roy Subert, I'm not interested. They're more blocking guys, I think. On the Pittsburgh side, can Aaron Rodgers throw 4 touchdowns again against Seattle? Maybe, but I think people will be chasing that, and I'm not going there. Warren looked okay. Gainwell was out there also. I don't know. This is kind of a mud puddle too. But my favorite GPP play of the week is DK Metcalf out there for a revenge game. I know Austin had a good game, but I think this is where Metcalf comes out there and demands the ball and kind of knows the defense and has played against them in practice and go out there and have a really good game. And tight ends, Johnny Smith and Fryermuth, like I think both of them could be in play, but again, like which one's going to be the flavor of the week this week? Defense wise, I mean, maybe you could pick either one of them with such a low total, but I think there's better plays on the board. McKinley?
Love the DK Metcalf call. He's one of my favorite players here
He's
this week.
5.9K.
Yeah, that is far too cheap. We talked about it in week one where, Rodgers historically across his career, he just funnels that wide receiver one on his team, whoever it was in Green Bay and in New York. So really like Metcalf there, even forgetting revenge narrative and all that.
He had
And
Sauce
Jackson,
Gardner on him last week too. So
yeah, and like he didn't score a touchdown, but he was still heavily involved in the offense and did
yep.
well. So I think he's going to do very well. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba. When we talk about target share, I think in week one he had a target share of like 60%. It was stupidly high. Um, Elite wide receivers, you're looking at like that low 30% range. So it's not possible for JSN to continue that. But it is still a little bit concerning for the Cooper Cup shares, but very, very good for the JSN holders.
So now we have another really low total game, and it's the attrition bowl, let's call it. We have San Francisco and New Orleans. San Francisco, Brock Purdy is injured and out, so Mac Jones at 4K minimum price is coming into the game. You have their
George
tight
Kittle.
end. I can't think of his name. Who's a tight end?
George Kittle. It's been a long day for
Kittle.
you. Pull
Yeah,
that slide.
he's writing deers on Little Caesars commercials more than he's playing football nowadays. Um, if you've seen that one. Like Ayuk is still out there, Purcell and Jennings are out there. I think they're banged up a little bit. McCaffrey, it makes sense that he should get, but he had like the calf injury last week and he played, but like how much are they going to go out there and I don't know. And then on the other side, like Kamara looked decent. New Orleans, I think, was like, and they were in that game. Was it Atlanta? Like that was a close game they were back and forth. Like I thought for sure that game was going in overtime, and I believe it did. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
Um,
wrong. They played Arizona. Arizona
okay,
won.
who was the game that I was
Tampa,
thinking? Who?
Tampa Bay, Atlanta.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah, okay,
who missed the field goal at the end?
okay. Sorry. Um, but anyways, like this week, I think Olave it could be in play here. Shaggy, like I don't know. I think everybody's gonna play McCaffrey. He's like cheaper than he has been at like 7.5K. He was up in like the 8, 9, 10K range in his prime. But I don't know. Like Mac Jones, like how's he gonna be as a quarterback here? Like they just have like so many injuries, so many questions, and like New Orleans is not the greatest defense in the world, but I think this game is you play McCaffrey potentially in cash just for the volume, and I think you just avoid everything else here.
Juwan Johnson
Okay.
for the Saints. He is the talk of the town. Tight end eligibility, but he was lining up in the slot 60% of the time. He was out there for 98% of the snaps last week. So Juwan Johnson, you can see he's in there in the cheap category on the sheet. Really high on him, regardless of the matchup, just because of the volume that he is going to be getting. And then, like you said, it's plug in Christian McCaffrey. Um, he had 32 touches, not runs plus catch receptions and everything. So 32. And now George Kittle's out and they don't have their starting quarterback. And he's probably going to see just as much, if not more. Game script is very favorable for him. The only thing you probably got to worry about is that New Orleans, arguably one of the worst teams that we're expecting over the course of the season. So if Mac Jones does figure it out and the game does get out of hand, he probably won't play the fourth quarter, just as they try to limit him over the course of the season.
Okay, producer's giving us the 10-minute warning here. So Carolina, Arizona, and not much from this game. Carolina side, either Hubbard or Tep McMillan. I still really like him there. 5.4, I think that's still too cheap for him. That could potentially get like 15 DK points. Arizona side, Murray's in play as a quarterback. He has a little bit of Russian upside there. Connor, bell cow. 6.6 is a solid play for running back. Harrison looked good and still relatively cheap for a wide receiver at 5'8", and Murray found him pretty good. And Trey McBride at 6K is if you're paying up for tight end is always a solid play. I like the Arizona defense potentially too or in play. And that's pretty much what I have for this game. Anything pop for you, McKinley?
Yeah, I'm still hopeful for this Carolina offense. Again, there was that weather delay, and the timing was all off. It just wasn't good. I still think that Tet is still a great play here. Chuba Hubbard, he's going to be getting the volume and everything. We really like that. Even in the negative game script in week one, they were trailing the whole time. He was still getting handoffs routinely. So you can pretty much be rest assured that he's going to see his touches and his volume. So I like that. James Conner, he's my favorite play on both sides of this game. Carolina's run defense continues to be light went off again. Oh, what's going on with that? Carolina's run defense continues to be absolutely dreadful. We saw what ETN did last week, so James Conner is going to be my favorite play on this one.
Denver and the Colts. Here. Nix, I think, is good. Sutton is a solid pairing with him. I think this is a week that maybe Harvey starts to break out against the Colts. Like they've always um, been a run funnel, and people for like the last 3, 4 seasons have been able to run really well on them. So you have Dobbins there also. I think Denver defense is obviously something that I would consider too. Daniel Jones had a good game last week. I just don't think it's going to be the same this week. Denver's also kind of run funnel, so I think Taylor is in play there. Warren, the tight end, is if you're paying up, is a little bit cheaper than some of the premium ones, but I think can get like Larson with the Detroit tight end. I think here's where you can get just as much points, if not more, and save a little bit money. And then the wide receivers is kind of an enigma. Like I thought Downs would be better, but he wasn't last week. Pittman started to come back, but Pittman has his issues. So I don't think I'm playing a ton of Indianapolis or Denver here. If anything, I'd probably play Nixon, Sutton, and maybe the defense, and maybe in a GPP Harvey.
Yep, Jonathan Taylor is the only interest I have. Patrick Surtain, I mean, he's going to shut down the lead Indianapolis guy, whoever they want it to be. I mean, Tyler Warren's still out there, but I don't really have too much interest in this game overall. There's just too many mouths to feed that are just average in Denver with a committee backfield, and then after Sutton, who is it? Is it Franklin? Is it Mims? Like nobody knows. So.
Okay, and then we have what should be like the premier game of the week here, the Eagles and the Chiefs, the Super Bowl rematch, but like the Chiefs like are banged up. I don't think they're really good. Hurts, I think, is in a great spot here. Casey's always had a good rushing defense. So I think Barkley's still in play, but I think it's more of a GPP play than a cash. I think they're really going to try to get AJ Brown into it. They talked about that. They didn't get a chance. They really didn't need to target him that much, but I think you're going to see him out there. Devontae Smith is still there. Calcaterra at the tight end. Like I really just don't like um, that. I think it's going to be Hurts, AJ Brown, and Barkley, if anything, for me. And the Chiefs side, like fading Mahomes, I just don't feel he's got the weapons there. The backfield's a mud puddle. Marquise Brown, I think he only did well because people weren't expecting that Marquise Brown was going to be the number one wide receiver once Worthy ran into Kelsey and dislocated his shoulder. Smith Schuster, I think, might be in play there also at 4K. It's a cheap price. And Kelsey, I see a lot of ownership on him for tight end just because of the wide receiver issues. But like he did catch a touchdown pass, but I think that was a blown coverage. He really didn't impress me with the way he was running routes there. So I think it's a complete fade. I'm not going to have much for this game at all, I don't think.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy went down on the third play of the game, and Kelsey still had 4 targets the entire time. It took him until almost the fourth quarter to get his first target. So I have no interest in Kelsey. Hollywood Brown, he saw 16 targets in that first game. He'll probably see like 10 to 12 here. My thing with him is that his depth of target is just so low. It's going to be a bunch of like 6 to 10 yard passes. I mean, we saw it, in the first week. On the Philly side of things, no Dallas Goddard. That is huge. It opens up a lot of targets for guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So I really think that's going to be a nice bounce back game for these Philly wide receivers. I think Philly still beats Kansas City. I think Philly's just so much better. And that obviously we saw the Super Bowl, but I still fully believe that Philly is the better team.
I think their defense is like one of the best point per
Yeah.
dollar ones out there too. So okay, so let's move on to the sorry, I had the wrong button there. The cores, and we'll get you on your way. Since we have about 2 minutes left here. So I'm taking Allen, paying up. I understand if you want to go down to Jones or do something else, but I think ETN is a good one. I'll let you make the decision there at RB2 if you take McCaffrey or if you take one of the other options out there. But give me the volume, guys, for wide receivers. Give me Flowers, give me Smith and the Jigba. If you don't go McCaffrey, you can probably easily get Nakua in there. If you want to pair somebody with Allen, again, I said I'd like Shakir. Ferguson's the cheap tight end. If you want to save the $300 and go down to Fanning, I'm fine with that. New England D, I think, is the good one for cash for me. For GPP, I'm going with May here. I know it's going to be popular, but I think he's only going to have about 5% ownership. Tracy, I understand if you want to pivot off that one, but that's my bold call there. Dallas rushing defense is not good, and I think this is a chance for him to come alive there. I think there's a lot of talent there, and I just think that he just needs a little bit of time, and this could be the good game for him. But I'm pairing Henry and Butte with May. And then I'll let you decide if you want to run it back with Hill or Kanye. And then give me Metcalf as the GPP play of the week here with the revenge game against the Steelers. About a minute left, McKinley. Any final thoughts?
I'm trying to think of who I would go for my core. I'd go Christian McCaffrey in cash. I'd probably also throw in DK Metcalf, and then for tight ends, either Juwan Johnson or Fannin. Go cheap there.
Okay. Well, thank you for another week. And if you want more information outside DFS, go to the description of the video, and there's our whole pricing page there. For $6, you can play everything tomorrow. You have soccer, you'll have well, NASCAR's over this weekend, but it's usually there. But MLB, we have football, and we'll cover like the Sunday night showdown and the 2 Monday night games and everything there. So, really, thank you for your time. If these videos help us back, like, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. So. Good luck in your contest. Hope you're having an amazing weekend and this helps you end it well. And we'll see you next time.